I'd like to welcome you all to the North Carolina Department of Transportation's formal design public hearing for the Complete 540 project, also known as State Transportation Improvement Program project numbers R2721, R2828, and R2829, and a little bit later in the presentation I'll explain what those numbers mean. My name is Jamil Robbins. I am the Public Involvement and Community Studies Group Leader with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's public hearing. First, I always like to start with some housekeeping and ground rules. Restrooms are just outside the door. You make a left, and just past the sign-in station, there's a hallway, and restrooms are right there. There's also restrooms in this hallway. Second thing is these are formal proceedings, and they are being recorded. So we ask that if you have a cell phone on, please turn them to silent. I know you may have a cool ringtone, but I don't want to hear it right now. So, and last but not least, probably the most important thing is the ground rules. And basically, I have one rule, and I'm sure some of you were at the public hearing 3 years ago, and you probably heard me say this. I have one rule, and that's the golden rule. To me, that is so appropriate for a forum such as this, and we treat others as we would like to be treated. It is important during the public comment portion because you have people on with different views on this project. Some may be against the project, some may be for the project. But I just ask that if someone gets up to speak that has a differing viewpoint than yourself, that you show them the same respect that you would like if you got up to speak. So if we do that, we'll have a nice, orderly, and civil meeting. Now, what I want to do now, real quick, before I get started on the presentation, is just acknowledge all the hard work by the staff that are here tonight. The majority of them are in the blue shirts with the NCDOT logo on them. There was a lot of work that went into putting these public meetings and public hearings on this week. So I want to thank them all for all their hard work. But there's a few people I want to pay particular recognition to. One, I want to acknowledge our division staff that are here. Our division engineer, Mr. Joey Hopkins, he's in the back there. Our deputy division engineer, Mr. Richard Hancock. And Boyd here, our division construction engineer. Thank you. And their staff are here. From our Turnpike, Turnpike Authority, we have our director, Mr. Bo Memory, here. I believe he was here. And is Roger Rochelle here? He's the chief engineer. All right. We also have we have Chris Lucasina, one of our partners with the Capital Area MPO, a Metropolitan Planning Organization here tonight as well, and his staff. And we have Mr. Donnie Brew from the Federal Highway Administration. He's here. For the sake of time, I'm going to just stop it there. We do have some local elected officials that I would like to acknowledge. We have Mr. Dick Sears, the mayor of Holly Springs. We have Mr. John Byrne, mayor of Fuquay-Varina. And we have Mayor Ronnie Williams of Garner here tonight as well. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Are there any elected officials here that would like to be?
Yes, I'm Commissioner Bill Harris. I'll be speaking in place of Mayor John Byrne.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Tonight we'll start with the purpose of tonight's public hearing. Then we'll get a quick overview of the project. We'll talk a little bit about the project impact, cost, and funding. and then we'll go over the next steps in the process, what to expect over the next few months and years. And then finally, get to the most important part of tonight, and that is the public comment period. Again, this is a public hearing. We've come out to hear what you have to say. Now, the purpose of tonight's hearing, simply put, is to make you, the public, a part of the project development process. It's just another important step in our continual efforts to make you a part of the process. Specifically tonight, we want to get your input on the design of the project. Now, the maps that you saw here tonight and in the final environmental impact statement are available, have been available at the following locations. They're available on our website as well. Now, I can't encourage you enough and talk up the importance of public participation, but your input in this process is extremely important. And we provided you multiple ways to participate in this process. And you participate by making your voices heard. And you can do that by, one, having your comments recorded here tonight during the public comment portion. You can send in an email. You can go to our website. We have a public engagement portal, publicinput.com. You can provide input there. You could email us. Just multiple ways for you. I mean, if you had a carrier pigeon, you could send that in too. But anyway, I really cannot stress the importance of you getting that feedback to us. And one special note, I do want to thank the City of Raleigh, the Raleigh Television Network. They're here tonight recording these proceedings. It will air, I believe, beginning Saturday, and they will run it continuously through the comment period, which is March 23rd. So we will put the air times on our website, or you can go to the City of Raleigh's website. It will air on channel 18 on Spectrum Cable, which is the public access television, and which is countywide, but for Raleigh residents, it will air on cable channels 10, 11, and 22 as well. Again, thank you to the City of Raleigh. So you may be asking yourself, what are you going to do with this input? Well, in about 6 to 8 weeks, the project study team will convene at what is known as a post-hearing meeting to discuss all the comments that we received through that March 23rd deadline. And we will take that comment into consideration as the design progresses. But I want to be clear that the department cannot just take public comment into consideration in making these decisions. We have to balance that against good, sound engineering criteria, such as safety, which is our number one goal. We have to look at impacts to the natural and human environments. We have to look at operations, as well as cost. And so there's a balancing act there. But what that ensures is that at the end of the day, we put the best product on the ground for the citizens of North Carolina. So as I said before, the public comment period ends March 23rd. Now I want to be clear that we accept comments all the time, but to make sure that your comments are a part of the public record for this hearing phase of the project, we need those comments into us by, again, March 23rd. So real quick, everyone knows the Triangle is a great place to live. We're one of the fastest growing areas in the country. And as a result, with all this growth comes more cars, more congestion, which requires us to the need for more route choices. And so based on that, the project purposes are twofold. One is to improve mobility within or through the study area during peak travel periods. And two, to reduce forecasted congestion on the existing roadway network within the study area. And an additional benefit of this project is improve system linkage, or in other words, improve system connectivity on our existing roadway network. This project is consistent with the long-range transportation plans for the local municipalities within the study area. This project is included in the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization and NCDOT's adopted plans. All right, so let's get to the project. Again, this project calls for the completion of the 540 outer loop around the greater Raleigh area. Project will begin at the western terminus or endpoint of the project, which is the 55 bypass, eastward to the eastern endpoint of the project, which is the US 264, 64, I-495, I-87 freeway. Now, the preferred alternative, if you remember, at the last public hearing, which was about 3 years ago, December 2015, that public hearing, the purpose of that public hearing was to choose the location or the route for this project. And based on the public comment that we received during that process, we evaluated and reviewed all those comments. We made that information available to our federal and state regulatory and resource agency partners, and got their feedback on that as well. And based on that input, DOT and the Federal Highway Administration chose what was known as Detailed Study Alternative 2 as the preferred alternative, which was the orange, green, mint green alternative. Now, the project, we are proposing 6-lane highway, 3 lanes in each direction, separated by a 70-foot median. This this roadway is a controlled access facility. That means access to and from the new roadway will be via interchange only, and no private driveways will be allowed to connect to this roadway. And this project is identified as a toll facility or roadway. Again, this is the continuation of NC 540 from the west. So I'm not going to go through the project inch by inch, but I do want to go through the interchange locations. I hope most of you have had a chance to review the maps tonight, and I think we'll leave a copy in the lobby. So after the hearing, if you want to look back at the maps, feel free to do so and ask questions. So to me, a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is you've been looking at 2D plan sheets. This is 3D visualization of those interchanges, which I think will be a little more helpful for you. So this is the NC 55 bypass. This is the existing NC 540, and this is heading eastward, all right? Apex is in this direction, Holly Springs this direction. All right, heading eastward, the next interchange is the Holly Springs Road interchange. Now this is what is known as a divergent diamond interchange, or DDI. fairly new concept to North Carolina. We have a few on the ground that are operating fairly well, and we are proposing that here. Now, I have a visualization that, or video that goes through the operation of a divergent diamond interchange that I can play at the end of my presentation if you so choose. So before I get to the public comment period, I'll ask you then if you want to watch it. It's about 2 minutes, but that will explain the operation of a divergent diamond interchange. But one thing I want to point out, in addition to the interchange in this area, because of the interchange in 540, several roads adjacent to the interchange will have to be realigned. The main one being Kildare Farm Road will be realigned to the north to tie in with to create a new four-leg intersection with Sandcroft Drive. And then on the on the south side, Lockley Road and Suncliffe Court will have a full movement four-leg intersection, and Fairview Street will be realigned to tie into Holly Springs Road at this point. Next is Bells Lake Road. Next is the interchange at US 401. One thing I want to point out here, this is 401. This is Raleigh in this direction, Fuquay, Varina in this direction. As a result of this new interchange, again, 401 will be bridged over 540. But in this area, Donnybrook will be realigned to tie in here, just across from the entrance of this campus. Next is Old Stage Road interchange. You'll see Rolling Farm Road will have to be realigned to the north. Next is NC 50 interchange, or Benson Road. And wow, this is a huge interchange. And the reason why, this is the confluence of 3 major freeways. You have the Clayton Bypass, you have I-40, and then you have 540 coming through. Next is White Oak Road heading east. And again, you'll see that the adjacent roadways that have to be realigned in the areas of these interchanges. Heading east, Rock Quarry Road. Next is US 70 Business. You will see one of the things I want to point out here. Up here, you'll see that 540 will go over US 70 Business. It will also go over the Norfolk Southern Railroad and Garner Road. There will be no direct access to Garner Road. Next is Auburn-Knightdale. Next is Pool Road. 540 will be bridged over Pool Road. And finally, last interchange, this again is a freeway-to-freeway interchange, so you see flyovers and loops. Those flyovers are high-speed directional ramps. All right, so let's talk a little bit about project impact and some cost. Now, during the environmental process, we look at a variety of environmental factors, but I'm not going to go through this entire list. If you want, please look at the, review the final environmental impact statement. But the one I think is most important are the number of relocations that are required for this project. When I talk about relocations, those are the number of people, the homes or businesses that have to be displaced as a result of this project, the construction of this project. There's a total of 217 relocations. 5 of those are business relocations. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the right-of-way acquisition process. Once the decisions are made regarding the final design of the project, the limits of the project will be staked in the ground. If you are an affected property owner, our right-of-way agents will arrange a meeting with you to not only explain your rights as a property owner, but they will explain how the project affects you. And if you are an affected property owner where permanent right-of-way is required, then an appraisal will be completed, and the current market value of that property, its highest and best use, will be offered as monetary compensation. Now, during this process, the department must treat all owners and tenants equally. We must fully explain an owner's rights. We must provide fair market value in exchange for those property rights. And we must provide relocation advisory assistance. Again, if you are a relocatee, someone that would be displaced as a result of this project, then additional assistance in the form of advice and monetary compensation is available. Now, our right-of-way experts are here. Ms. Kathy Smith is in the back. She has her hand up. She and her staff are here. So at the conclusion of the public hearing, if you have any questions, please feel free to speak to them. And we also have a brochure that explains the right-of-way process available at the sign-in table. And a little bit about traffic noise. A traffic noise study was completed on this preliminary design. So along this entire project, there are 42 locations or noise impacted areas that were evaluated. Of those 42, 22 met the preliminary justification for a noise barrier. And let me talk a little bit about our traffic noise policy. It basically states that the state and federal governments are no longer responsible for noise abatement measures for development that occurs after the date of public knowledge. That means any development or any buildings that do not have a building permit issued on or before that date of public knowledge will not get a noise wall paid for by the department. Now, the date of public knowledge is the approval date of the final environmental document. In this case, for this project, that is the record of decision, also known as the ROD, and we anticipate that in the summer of this year. Now, once decisions are made regarding the final design of the project, the locations of those noise barriers will be determined, and residents that are expected to receive at least a 5 decibel noise reduction from the recommended noise barrier will be able to vote for their preference for or against the construction of a noise wall in their area. Now, future outreach will be forthcoming. We have our noise team here tonight, our noise group, which is headed by Missy Pear. So they're here. I know they were very popular tonight and over the past 2 nights. So if you didn't get a chance to talk to them, make sure you catch them on the way out. And finally, the cost of the project. Cost is estimated just over $2.2 billion for the entire project. A little bit about funding. Again, I told you this is a toll facility, a toll roadway. But I want to talk about funding for a toll road versus traditional funding real quick. Traditional funding for a federal aid project is an 80-20 split from federal and state contributions, respectively. Now, for a toll-funded project, the state and federal contributions are less, and they vary. The revenue from the tolls are responsible for not only paying back the cost of financing, but also the cost of operation, construction, and maintenance. And current legislation says that once the debt is repaid, then the tolls are removed. So the next steps, again, I just talked about the record of decision is again expected this summer. And the construction contracts will be awarded in pieces. So again, remember when I talked about those numbers, the R2721, R2828, and R2829. This is where those numbers come into play. That's how we fund the projects. So R2828, which is the US 401 to I-40 section, it is slated to be awarded the fall of this year, fall and winter of this year. The R2721 project, which will be closely behind that project, which is in the limits of the R2721 project, NC 55 bypass to US 401, is slated to go, be awarded to construction in the spring or summer of 2019. And the eastern portion of the project, I-40 to the US 64, 264, I-495, I-87 endpoint, is not funded at this point. So right now, the schedule has it in fiscal year 2027. Now, all of these dates are preliminary and subject to change. So basically, in your handout, basically the orange piece of the project is funded. Okay? Now, the project will be awarded as a design-build project. The design-build process allows the department to hire a team of contractors and designers that are responsible not only for the final design of the project, but also the right-of-way acquisition, as well as the construction of the project. Now, this process is is more efficient than our traditional process, which results in faster completion dates. The design-build process, that design-build team, in essence, could be purchasing right-of-way in one section of the project, finishing the design in another, while constructing in yet another portion of the project. Through this process, we've seen a lot of innovative designs that further reduce impacts and costs come out of this. We've also seen quick resolution to issues that arise during construction. And if you've had any construction, been part of any type of construction on your home or anything, you know it's not a question of if a problem arises, it's just when. So, but again, very innovative process for the department. Looking forward to getting this project on the ground. It's been a long time coming, and but with that, that is the end of my presentation, and we'll get ready to go into the public comment portion, which is the most important part of tonight. Now, real quick, did you want to see the video I talked about? If not, you can go on our YouTube channel and watch it. You want to watch it? Okay.
A diverging diamond interchange, also known as a DDI, allows two directions of traffic to temporarily cross to the left side of the road. A DDI moves high volumes of traffic through an intersection without increasing the number of lanes and traffic signals. This movement provides easier access to an interstate. Traffic entering or exiting the interstate does not have to cross opposing traffic to make a left turn. When driving a DDI, motorists proceed through a traffic signal at the entrance to the interchange and simply follow their lane to the opposite side of the roadway. Both directions of traffic drive on the opposite side of the road before crossing back and resuming their original pattern. DDIs allow free-flowing turns when entering and exiting an interstate, eliminating the left turn against oncoming traffic and limiting the number of traffic signal phases. Traffic signals, signs, pavement markings, and a raised concrete island where lanes crisscross will guide you and keep you from turning into a wrong lane. Motorists traveling NC 123 will drive straight through the first traffic signal and cross in front of oncoming traffic that is stopped on your right at a traffic signal. Then you'll be on the left side of the bridge, with the opposing lanes on your right, separated by concrete barriers. You can then proceed to the other side of the bridge, where you'll cross at another traffic signal back over to the right side of the road. To get to I-40 towards the left, you will use the left lane. The turn onto the I-40 ramp will be a free left turn, meaning no need to stop. Motorists needing to access I-40 to the right will remain in the right lane and exit off. The DDI makes it easy to know which side of the road to be on when turning onto the interstate. To turn left, stay in the left lane. To turn right, stay in the right lane. If you exit eastbound I-40 to go north on NC 123, when the signal is green, you will turn onto the left lanes of northbound NC 123 on the bridge. If you are driving westbound I-40 to southbound NC 123, you will turn onto the left lanes of southbound NC 123 on the bridge. If you exit eastbound I-40 to go south on NC 123 or westbound to go north, you will stay in the right lane to exit. Movements are simpler, easier, and quicker. The blue line demonstrates the path that cyclists will use while riding in a diverging diamond interchange. They will stay to the right side of the road as they would on any other interchange. However, because there are fewer and shorter crossing movements, bicycle movements are easier and safer. The orange line demonstrates the path for pedestrians. Pedestrians will use the signed crosswalks and then use the walkway down the center of the bridge between the barriers. Even though this is unusual, the crisscross vehicular paths make the center of the bridge the safest location for a pedestrian walkway. All street crossings are shorter than in a standard interchange and will be under signal control.
Now, if you didn't sign up to speak and you get an idea, after I've exhausted this list, I'll open it up to anyone that would like to speak at that point. Now, we'll ask, given the number of people signed up, that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Now, Diane up front here will hold up the sign when you have 1 minute remaining, and then she will hold up the stop sign, all right? Now, if you didn't get through your thought, just if you sit back down, once we've gone through the list, you will have the opportunity to come back up to speak. All right. So with that said, I ask that you come to the mic in the center aisle here and state your name and address before giving us your comment. Now, the first person signed up to speak is Mr. Nick Jimenez. Did I say that right? You thought what? I thought it was 21. I can only go by the order I have them, so. Sir, can you speak into the mic so make sure they can hear you? Let me see.
How about that? Thanks. Hello? Hey. Yay. Thank you. Yes, I'm Nick Jimenez. I'm here from the Southern Environmental Law Center. I wanted to just take a minute to talk about some of the inequitable impacts that the project is likely to have. And by that I mean the sort of unfair impacts that it could have on low-income communities and communities of color. The analysis so far hasn't looked at these impacts sufficiently, and I want to point out a couple of ways in which that's the case. One is, as we've heard, this is an incredibly expensive project, and as we've just seen, the large majority will be paid for with toll revenue. Tolls function sort of like a regressive tax. If you have to take a road, you have to pay that extra amount every day. That's one option. That's one thing that could happen to people who need to commute, say, to Raleigh or to RTP. Another effect could be that people decide not to take the road. This could divert traffic onto some of the existing roads, some of the arterials, local roads. And if you look into the supporting documents underlying the most recent, the final environmental impact statement, they show that on a good number of local roads, traffic will actually increase. So tolls themselves, the Federal Highway Administration is very familiar with this. They have a 2011 guidance document going back that far, saying, look, if you're going to build a toll road, you got to look at what it's going to do to the communities, to sort of low-income and minority communities. You've got to kind of get the lay of the land, see what effects it's going to really have. Wow, that was fast. There's also, there's a recent analysis by the National Academy of Sciences that, lays out a very clear process for this. Federal Highways has done it before. They've done this in Texas. They commended the Dallas planning effort for doing exactly this analysis, figuring out where the traffic's going, who's making these trips, and what effect it's going to have on them. There are a number of other disproportionate or impacts that it could have when you build a large infrastructure project. The people who tend to live near those are often lower income or people of color. And it has these sort of proximity impacts that, there's more air pollution, there's more noise, there's can be water contamination. Those need to be looked at further.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Chris Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the economic developer for Johnston County. I'm here on behalf of the county and the leadership in support of the project. With the county and the growth that we've seen over the past 20 years, plus over the next 15 years, they're anticipating another 100,000 citizens. So we're going to reach over 300,000. There's just not enough capacity on the existing roadways, and this is going to do a lot for our existing citizens as well as our industries looking at the area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Alfred Leach. That works.
Hi, my name's Al Leach. I'm a Raleigh business professional and here to just speak on behalf of some of the other business representatives who are very interested in economic development of Wake and the Triangle region at large. Mobility is an important issue and need for the community. Congestion, we all face it wherever we come from, but we all want to minimize it as much as we can. Extending and accelerating 540, I think, is a very good opportunity for us, both as commuters and drivers, but also in terms of our appeal to other businesses and companies that want to call our region home, which is important to our continued economic growth and prosperity, from education to business to all of our livelihoods. So I hope we give this good consideration and keep it moving along.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sean McGrath.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sean McGrath, resident of 101 Winterview Place, Apex, North Carolina. This address is physically located inside of Holly Springs Township, just south of Sunset Lake Road in Wood Creek, the Atrium neighborhood to be specific. The concern I'm here to address tonight on behalf of those residents of the Atrium is the ability for us to preserve our continued access to neighborhood amenities that are all built in the southern section of Wood Creek development. With the construction of NC 540, effectively this large planned development will be split in half. Currently, there is a Town of Holly Springs publicly accessible and designated greenway that facilitates the only safe, walkable or bikeable access to the clubhouse, pool, gym, tennis courts, etc. for our children and residents. As noted on Complete 540's map number 1, you can see this greenway is annotated in the low-lying area that also contains a creek bed. This area is designed to be filled by the depiction of map 1 as annotated by the area 1393 on that map. Our hope tonight is by continuing to voice this concern, an agreement between NCDOT, the Town of Holly Springs, the Holly Springs residential properties, or better known as Preston Development, will be reached to preserve the pedestrian connectivity from the north side of Holly Springs in Wood Creek to the south side in the same manner. After discussing this ongoing issue concern with your representatives on Tuesday night at the Holly Springs High School, it was noted a large culvert will be needed for the creek that is adjacent by about 50 feet to that current greenway. It was suggested that a viable solution would be a culverted pedestrian tunnel under 540 in this low-lying area where the greenway path currently exists today. This greenway path is also directly adjacent to the Town of Holly Springs 20-foot wide sanitary sewer line easement granted and documented in the Wake County Book of Maps of 2007, page 2789. Without that pedestrian solution, this will greatly impact the lives of the 75 or so lot owners of the Atrium in Wood Creek, both physically and financially. Ready access to the amenities provided in our neighborhood were obviously pivotal to home pricing and individual buying decisions by each lot owner. Most importantly, however, is the safety and security of pedestrian travel throughout our neighborhood and Holly Springs. We certainly hope our children and residents may continue to benefit from the healthy living options that developments in Holly Springs and Wake County are now known for, that the state of North Carolina has benefited greatly from in accessing new residents for our growing area. Thanks for your time. We look forward to hearing about the plans to directly address these concerns, as well as how NCDOT will address the phasing of construction along Sunset Lake Road.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Thomas Tomczak. Did I say that correct?
Yeah, you did great.
And on deck, we have Betsy Walton.
Hello, my name is Thomas Tomczak. I live at 308 Restonwood Drive. I'm actually a neighbor of Mr. McGrath in the Wood Creek subdivision in the Holly Springs Township. Our concern has to do with three of the points you brought up: safety, impact, and traffic. As 540 bisects our neighborhood, They are going to actually build a bridge over the east and west side of Sunset Lake Road. That basically, depending on how that is done, could literally cut off our access to one road, Stevenson Road, from coming in and out of our neighborhood, which could curtail EMS, fire, police response. And we want to implore that NCDOT works with the township of Holly Springs, because there's a Stevenson Road project and the widening of Sunset Lake Road that the township of Holly Springs is doing, that is going on potentially at the same time, that is also going to impact all this. So we just hope that all that works in conjunction with each other so that we are not orphaned. And not only does it impact the Wood Creek and the Atrium area, there are 4 other neighborhoods that could potentially be orphaned by these construction projects. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Following Mrs. Walton, we have Bill Harris.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. I just didn't have it in the wrist. Thank you. My name is Betsy Walton. I'm a private property owner. Can't hear you. Thank you. Thank you. My address is 1001 Horse Creek Road, and it's in Raleigh, North Carolina. My comment has really nothing to do with my property specific, has nothing to do with for or against 540, has nothing to do with whether or not this road should be tolled or not. My comment is around how the project is being managed, okay? I think this project really lacks 3 points for me, and I've experienced it. I hope I have the time to tell my story, and that is DOT has no faith in this project. There's no customer service perspective, and there's no communication. And as a certified project manager myself, I really think the communication in this project could be enhanced, and they have the real opportunity to start it now. And it ties back perhaps to your golden rule. And I'd like DOT to begin to ask themselves the simple question: if this was your property, how would you feel? So please give me my time. So my story is this. As of last week, February the 14th, I had surveyors onto my project. When you look at the current design map, it's supposed to be on the corner of my property for right-of-way, okay? But they're actually out there. They're laying out utilities, power, and whatnot. So I had to go to a subcontractor to ask, what are you doing on my property? And I think it's shame, and that illustrates the point of lack of communication, the real lack of the customer face of DOT. I'm really concerned that this is going to be a design-build project. We're going to continue down the road of where DOT does not have that face. So I appreciate the opportunity. I do understand that DOT is doing their job, and I get that, and I certainly appreciate that. However, again, you do have the opportunity to do some improvement and do it today. So for all of you guys who are directly or indirectly, I hope that you support what I say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walton. Ms. Walton, if you stay around, I'd like to talk to you afterwards. Okay, thank you.
I'm Bill Harris, Commissioner from the town of Fuquay-Varina. And I'd like to go on record in representation of our governing board that we fully support the project and acknowledge the preferred corridor and support that. There are 3 things that really have impressed us, and that is the opportunity for our board to orderly plan for the future, to manage the traffic congestion, as well as to manage the growth in the future. We strongly support the project because it's very important to Fuquay-Varina from the standpoint of it will help us to relieve traffic congestion. It will open up commercial development. It will increase mobility for our citizens who work in various parts of the region, as well as we've already incorporated and planned in our land use plan future development based on the approval of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mayor Ronnie Williams. And on deck, we have David Schaus.
greetings from the town of Garner.
Greetings.
The things I was going to say and comment on, you've already covered. You've done a good job as moderator, but they have been covered.
Thank you.
But last time there was a meeting here 3 years ago, I was on this side of the fence. And there's things, like I say, you've covered everything, so I'm not going to take up nobody's time. I will say I factored in the number of people times 3 minutes. That's a hell of a lot of talking, ain't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, town of Garner is supportive of the road. Keep up the good work. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Schaus. Next on deck will be Hayes Finley.
Thank you. My name is David Schaus. I live at 1203 Haddington Drive in Cary. Even though I've been a property owner in Apex for 17 years and Cary for almost that many years, I've been in Wake County for almost all of the last 45 years, originally from Winston-Salem. But a lot of my interest in this project is shaped from the influence that I had learning to hunt and fish and lessons of life on my grandparents' property off Old Stage Road. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the professional staff of NCDOT for the opportunity for this public hearing. The graphics have been clear and the explanations have been fully engaging. Having said that, it's clear from the amount of resources put forward in this public hearing that the assumption is that this toll road is a done deal. In fact, even the name of the project, Complete 540, assumes it is a done deal. You may not be aware, but there are a number of other alternatives out there, many local road improvement projects, intersection improvement projects that are on the books and in planning. You heard a reference to one at one of the subdivisions earlier by one of the speakers. Next week, for instance, there's a public meeting on road improvements to Highway 1010 coming out of Apex. I think that we should all be considering the full menu of road improvements that might allow for a more detailed local consideration, including mass transit. This would provide a more detailed local scale for future generations. Let's think beyond our property and ourselves right now. Let's think about our children and the development decades down the road. Having grown up in the western part of Wake County the last nearly 45 years, I can tell you from seeing 540 and Wade Avenue that if you build it, they will come. If you think a road that you pay to drive on is going to solve the traffic problems for future generations, I have some neighbors in Morrisville and Western Cary that you need to talk to. I would like to request that we all ask the professional staff of NCDOT to explore and publicize all the alternatives available and bring these alternatives forward in a public forum in the context of full regional long-term benefits. Please, let's pump the brakes on Complete 540.
Thank you, sir. Following Mrs. Finley, we'll have Lynn Patton.
My name is Hayes Finley with the law firm Smithmore Leatherwood at 434 Fayetteville Street, Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm here tonight on behalf of Edge of Auburn, which is an LLC who owns approximately 400 acres at the intersection of Rock Quarry and Old Bauckham Road. As currently, they have development plans for this 400 acres. And as currently designed, this road will completely bisect the property, rendering approximately 100 acres of the development plans totally useless. So Edge of Auburn does not oppose the project in its entirety, but just requests that the design plans be moved as much as possible to avoid completely bisecting this parcel. Further, this angle here makes this whole parcel just completely undevelopable. And also likes to note that the cost estimates for this portion of the project vastly underestimates how much the relocation costs will be once these development plans have been implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Lynn Patton. Following Mrs. Patton, we'll have Clay Wharf.
I'm Lynn Patton, and I'm here really to talk about the cost.
Please state your name and address.
Lynn Patton, 8817 Joaquin Lane, very close to here. And I'm here to talk about the cost of this project. I want to reiterate what the gentleman said a few minutes ago about alternative projects that are in the works for widening existing roads that would only cost 10 times less than this $2.2 billion project. I think we need to think about our budgets. It might be reimbursed by tolls, but that could be, well, I certainly won't be around for it. But also the tolls, again, as one gentleman said, could have a really bad effect on a lot of people that might have to go on that toll road day in and day out. So I think we have to look at the money and the people impact.
Thank you. Following Mr. Wharf, did I say that right? Yes. Okay. Mike Burris.
My name is Clay Wharf. I live at 3105 Floresta Drive in Apex. Let me preface my remarks by saying I haven't been concerned about the road coming right behind my house. Now it is certainly a liability because nobody knows what it's going to look like or how it's really going to impact us. I think eventually it will be an asset because it will give some direct route into the Research Triangle. But my concern is this: I came home several weeks ago and I had blue tapes in my yard. In fact, I drove in and I saw one right on the side about 2 feet from my driveway. I thought, well, there's trash there. I went to pick it up and no, it was surveying tape and it was nailed down. And on back in my yard was another one and it was nailed down. My wife called and asked about it, and she was told that someone would get in touch with her, which they never did. So communication is an issue. Also, I came home recently, and I had surveying stakes all in my backyard. I mean, 50, 75 feet up into my yard. I had no idea what they were about. I ran it down and found out that that was from Colonial Pipeline because the pipeline runs behind my house. And they told me that NCDOT was going to require them to move that pipeline for the highway. They weren't sure whether it would be in my yard or not. But they were surveying in my yard, and that, as I looked at the map, that's a very real possibility for us. Well, if you're going to take half my backyard to run the pipeline, that's going to devalue my house considerably. I mean, I know that you'll pay for the right-of-way, and I get that. But how can I determine how much it's going to devalue the value of my house? And I have a considerable investment there, my biggest investment in that house. So my preference is, if the pipeline is going to have to be moved into my yard, give me fair value for my house, do what you're going to do, and sell it to somebody else after you've done it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Following Mr. Burris, we'll have Mayor Dick Sears.
Good evening. My name is Mike Burris. I live at 2005 Bull Run Drive, just north of here off of Blaney Franks and 1010 Road. I've been in the Raleigh area since 1977 and grew up in Charlotte, saw what impact was there and saw the impact that's happening here. But one of the things that I like about change is that if you plan for it long enough in advance, you can make your plans yourself for that. We've known about this road and its route for a long time. The individual impacts obviously are personal to the situation that you have and have to be respected. I applaud the DOT for their efforts in trying to be public and moving forward with this project. I applaud the mayors and everyone else supporting this project to move it forward. The cost of construction and the costs of building substitute roads or any other type of development here is only going to continue to increase. And I appreciate a toll road being able to help pay for some of that so our state and local taxes don't have to go up any more than they have to. I'm in favor of the road moving ahead. I'm in favor of accelerating the project because I think through all the long-range regional planning that's taken place on this, it's something we all expected. It's something we all need to have, and it's something we need to move forward with for our all continued growth and the growth for our children here. So I'm in support of the road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Following Mayor Sears, we'll have Thomas Brown.
Why is the microphone so high all the time? You didn't have to laugh. Anyway, I'm Dick Sears, Mayor of Holly Springs. I live at 413 Skygrove Drive in Holly Springs. I bring a little bit of different perspective for many of you, and I have heard your concerns, and I would share those, but I would say at the same time, let me tell you what happened in Holly Springs when we have a toll road. We do have a toll road on one side. First of all, it took me an hour and a half. I was going to do all this, but I'm not. It took me an hour and a half to get to the airport. Typical. When you hit 540 or 40, Highway 40, you stop. Now that our toll road goes on right down to 55, is the sheriff here? I don't think so. I have actually made the toll road from my house in less than 30 minutes. Now, it was early in the morning, but I love the toll road. I love it from the standpoint of I don't mind paying for it. For those who originally, and we took a lot of heat in the beginning before this ever happened, we don't want a toll road, we don't want to have to pay for food. I always said, you have an alternative, and that was called Highway 55. Some of the other advantages for the town population, is we can get places faster than we ever did before. We like that. It goes right up to RTP. It goes, as I say, to the airport. And there has been significant commercial and economic development in Holly Springs because we had this toll road on the side. So it's not all black and white. I know there's issues that have to be resolved. I'm totally aware of that, and I understand it. And we've talked even earlier, didn't we, about some of the things that were a problem with some of our friends. But at the same time, it's a good project. We support it. I think those who have questions, I hope they get answered. I hope they get answered. But at the same time, I think once this toll road, in which I do support, we do support, is done, I think you'll see the value of having that option for you in your backyard. And that's pretty much my story, and I'm sticking with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sears. Following Thomas Brown, we have Mr. Jeff Smith.
It's okay for me, Mayor Sears. My name is Thomas Brown. I live in the South Lake subdivision, which is in section R2721. It's basically between Holly Springs Road and Westlake Road. Our house is about 150 feet from the roadway. I basically have one request, and that is the neighborhood in which we live is going to be affected very much by the noise. It's a very quiet neighborhood. It's at least 1 mile from any major roadway, 1010 Road, Holly Springs Road, Optimist Farm Road, and so forth, fully residential. I read the NCDOT traffic noise policy. They define an impacted receptor as somebody who's going to be, whose noise level will be impacted greater than 10 decibels by traffic noise after such a project. And if a barrier wall is built, that could hopefully reduce, as the gentleman from NCDOT mentioned, reduce by 5 decibels or more. I would ask respectfully that such a wall is built to preserve the quality of life in these neighborhoods. But I also have a secondary concern, and that is of safety. I am also a captain at the Fairview Fire Department. I've been there for 14 years. During that time, in this whole response area of ours, we've responded to a number of major impacts from the deer population striking cars. We're talking about roadways that are 35, at most 45 miles an hour, and it's not a pretty thing when a deer flies through your windshield. They're very active and abundant in this area. It's not something you would see during the day during a survey. NC 540 at, I don't know what the speed limit is, 65 miles an hour, let's say, will certainly amplify such damage. A barrier wall would also serve to limit wildlife traffic across that roadway from these very animal-populated areas. So in summary, I would encourage the construction of a sound barrier wall, at minimum at least a fence that's high enough to prevent wildlife from crossing. Thank you for your consideration and for doing a great job trying to listen to public comment in this matter.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jeff Smith. Okay. Next we have Mr. Are you Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm Jeff Smith.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Yes, I'm Jeff Smith. I live at 5547 Hampstead Crossing, which is in the northwest part of Raleigh. So I'm not directly affected by this project. However, I am concerned, which I'm mainly concerned about the wetlands, in that if DOT insists on building this road, which I would prefer that they not even build this road, especially if they don't have the money in which they're going to charge a toll on it, when we already have a part of 540, the northern part, but you don't even have to pay a toll on. And the city of Charlotte, where I grew up, has 485, which is completed, and it's not a toll road at all. So why can't Raleigh get a road that doesn't have toll fares if the city of Charlotte, which is the largest city in the state, has an outer loop and doesn't even have tolls on it? But getting back to the environment, I've been interested in the environment all my life, and I definitely don't want our wetlands to be drained. Which I read the article concerning the mussel that North Carolina DOT is considering about breeding at this laboratory that NC State has, which I think is a good idea, but at the same time, I think our wetlands should remain intact because they control flooding and reduce pollution and so if this highway is if DOT insists on building this highway, I would suggest that a high bridge be built, a bridge similar to the bridge that's on 540 where it crosses Glenwood Avenue, which I live close to. And like a bridge such as the Herbert Bonner Bridge, which goes right through the Albemarle Sound or Pamlico Sound, whichever. So if DOT will build a high bridge and not drain our wetlands, that would definitely be a positive thing toward protecting the environment and also people not having to worry about flooding when we get heavy rains and as well as pollution. And I thank the DOT for giving me and us the opportunity to make these comments, and I'll make more comments in writing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Joe Milazzo, but while he's coming up, one thing I forgot to mention during the presentation was that when I talked about that post-hearing meeting where we're going to convene to discuss all the comments that have been received, minutes of that meeting will be prepared and made available to the public. So when you send in your comments or you contact us, let us know if you desire a copy of those and how so, if you want us to email them or mail them to you. We'll try to get them up on the web as well so you can see the responses to the questions that and the input that we've received through the comment period. All right, Joe.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Jamil. Joe Milazzo, Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Alliance, which is a voice of the regional business community on transportation. We're located in Dr. Raleigh. My address is 307 Tibbetts Rock in Cary. I want to thank NCDOT and the Turnpike Authority for the long work they have done on this project and continue to move the project forward. A few thoughts on it. Number one, 540, connecting it to I-40 in Southern Wake County has been and continues to be the regional business community's top priority for transportation for a number of reasons. One thing is in terms of congruency with what you've already heard from some of the mayors and the county commission or the town councilors as well. Towns have been planning for this road for many years. They've been planning for with their land use. We will have, the growth is coming, the growth is already here. We already know that. One of the concerns is that if we build it, the growth will come, and that is a reasonable concern. The challenge is if we don't build this, the growth is going to come anyway, and then we're going to have utter chaos. And so we do need to have the freeway system in place to make sure things can work. 540 will create an effective high-speed conduit from the southern part of the county, and you also heard from folks from Johnston County as well. The folks in eastern North Carolina, they're looking at this to try to access jobs and employment throughout the area, and this is a way for them to do that. A road like 540, which is a freeway, which means it's free of stoplights. That allows you to go through it. That's the reason why you heard from Mayor Sears earlier, why the travel times are so much better, and that's worked that way for the last 540's been open for over 5 years now. Just outside of Cary, so that's worked very, very nicely too. You can widen existing roads, and there's probably some need to do some of that. But no matter how many lanes you widen a road, there's still stoplights on it. And when the stoplight goes red, you're going 0 miles an hour at that point. And so even if 1010 road were widened to 12 lanes, you're still going to be going 0 at every stoplight. 540 is going to move forward that way, and so that will allow you to save your time the whole way through it. Again, thank you. I want to thank the mayors, want to thank the community for coming together on this, and we want to keep 540 moving forward, so let's accelerate 540. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we have Sarah Gaskell, followed by Denise Now. I don't know if I said that correctly.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Gaskill, and I serve as the president of the Morrisville Chamber of Commerce, located at 260 Town Hall Drive in Morrisville, North Carolina. Founded in 1990, the Morrisville Chamber of Commerce is a membership-based organization that is an active force in bringing new business and development into Morrisville, and our mission is to promote business, enhance economic community development while serving as a champion for improving the overall quality of life in the region. I'm here this evening to encourage our community leaders to support the acceleration of I-540, also known as NC-540. Morrisville's geographic location at the heart of the Research Triangle, its business-friendly climate, and an enviable workforce attracts not only Fortune 500 businesses in technology, healthcare, and pharmaceuticals, but provides ample support for startups in a range of industries. Located in Wake County, Morrisville is one of the fastest growing areas in the region. As a community, we've seen unprecedented population growth, over 232% since 2000. As this growth continues, the infrastructure to support our region will need to grow as well. The regional business community has been a proponent of enhanced mobility for many years, and the Morrisville Chamber has supported Complete 540 and Accelerate 540 efforts numerous times over the years through resolutions and speaking opportunities such as this. The reason for this support includes the following: more travel options both now and as we continue to grow, competitive advantage in attracting and retaining talent, alternative routes and a means to avoid congestion, and access to jobs, healthcare, education, and social and cultural events. Morrisville supports the acceleration of 540, as does the regional business community. Our region is growing, and we need alternative and enhanced route options around the Triangle area. Lastly, thank you to our businesses, Wake County and North Carolina leadership, for the bipartisan process that has led to the advancement of this important road network that will serve us now and as we continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Following is now. That's right. Okay. We have Bruce Sargent.
Good evening. My name is Denise Nowell. I serve the Zebulon community at the Zebulon Chamber of Commerce, and we are in partnership with the Town for Economic Development. We're located at 815 North Arundel Avenue in Zebulon. Thank you to the NCDOT and for the Turnpike Authority for the work that you're doing for accelerating 540. We continue to see robust growth for this region, and accelerating 540 will just continue to support that growth. While improving travel and free flow mobility for both Wake and Johnston County will directly impact the Zebulon community, it will also impact industries like GSK, Nameco, U.S. Foods, and the Carolina Mudcats, just to name a few. I want to echo the comments from Mr. Leach earlier and the gentleman from Johnston County Economic Development. I think there are a lot of folks in your region that travel to our area. So I just feel like it's important for us to know that as our region grows, we want that connectivity. We want to be able to stay connected to each other and make it easier for people to get around. I also want to thank my fellow colleagues who have shared their support tonight. We do support the efforts for improving transportation for all of our communities because of the ways that that improves economic development. We believe that we are wanting to say that we support accelerating 540, and we appreciate the opportunity to move forward.
Thank you. Following Mr. Sargent, we'll have Will Letchworth.
Good evening. Bruce Sargent. I am the current chair of the Regional Transportation Alliance for 2018. We want to, first of all, thank the DOT for accelerating 540. We want to make sure that people understand that this is an important project for increasing the mobility within our region. As everyone knows, we use the term war on talent. The war on talent can only be met when we have mobility that can work for supporting the region. And this must be done in order to be able to make sure that we stay as vibrant and as critical as we are to the success of North Carolina and to the United States. I want to again thank DOT for accelerating. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Following Mr. Letchworth, we have Steve Brechbiel.
My name is Will Letchworth. I'm a resident of Johnston County, and first of all, I'd really like to thank NCDOT for holding this forum tonight and the Turnpike Authority and for all their very, very hard work in accelerating 540. As a resident of Johnston County, I really believe it is impossible to overstate the importance of this project to the economic vitality and the mobility of Johnston County and of Eastern North Carolina. And as a member of the Regional Transportation Alliance, I just want to say it has been amazing to see the local business community come together and unanimously support this project and to really make this the regional business community's highest transportation priority in the region. Again, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. Following Mr. Brechbiel. Okay, we'll have Ann Runyon.
Good evening. My name is Steve Breckbiel. I'm the immediate past chair of the Regional Transportation Alliance. And I also want to thank DOT and the Turnpike Authority for accelerating this project. It is an important project. It's something that has been literally in development for decades, and it really has become time that we need to move forward. The one thing that's really important, I think, that I've seen in other projects, and we've seen because we look at these different projects, is that even people who don't use these roads benefit because it takes traffic off other roads, and it also gives them the chance to expand as well. So there is, what this represents is a regional solution to a regional issue, which is how do we meet the continued demand for growth? And it's true, more and more people want to come live here and work here. And by working together with this regional solution, we feel we can move it forward and that this is going to provide the vital connection we need all the way from Johnson into Wake and the surrounding area. So thank you very much. We hope this continues.
All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Ann Runyon. And finally, following her is Ramona McGee.
Thank you. I'm sort of short, so if you can't hear me, okay.
maybe I can make this go down a little bit more, and then you can you hear me better?
Step a little closer.
Okay.
Be good. Yeah.
My name is Annie Runyon, and I'm a natural science illustrator and a longtime resident of Wake County. I'm a little shy, so I'm going to read my letter to you. I have completed many illustrations used throughout North Carolina in our county and state parks, in museum exhibits, and in publications like Wildlife in North Carolina magazine. Through this work, I've learned how important it is to protect the integrity of natural resources, especially our streams. I appreciate your work on Complete 540. The planning for mussel propagation as a mitigation effort may prove very useful as we continue to build structures where we will damage streams throughout North Carolina. But we do not need to add this 6-lane toll road 540 to improve transportation here in southern Wake County. We should stop, reconsider, and study the Access to 2040 plan, improving the roads that we already have in place. With some new connections added, seems a much better plan than building this 540 outer loop. I also want to see better mass transportation developed for our region. That is extremely important. I appreciate the work you do to maintain and improve our roads, bridges, ferries here in North Carolina. Please seriously consider the Access to 2040 plan. Find the time and the courage to make wise decisions for our present and our future transportation needs. Respectfully, Ann Runyon.
Thank you, Ms. Runyon. And next is Ramona McGee.
My name is Ramona McGee. I am an attorney with the Southern Environmental Law Center. Our address is 601 West Rosemary Street in Chapel Hill. Tonight, I offer these comments on behalf of SELC, as well as our clients, Sound Rivers and Clean Air Carolina. We urge NCDOT to take a timeout to reanalyze the need for this project and to more thoroughly review the severe impacts to the humans and to the environment. We also ask NCDOT to seriously consider cheaper, better solutions, like the Access 2040 plan that Annie just mentioned. The unproven, unlikely benefits of this proposed toll road do not outweigh the financial $2.3 billion costs or the environmental costs of this project. With the advent of autonomous vehicles, ride sharing, and even delivery drones, we are on the edge of a transportation revolution. Advances in technology are going to radically change commuter behavior, transportation, traffic patterns, and congestion right here in the Triangle. And yet, NCDOT did not study this. NCDOT did not look to the future that's right around the corner. NCDOT also did not consider the Wake County Transit Plan that was just passed a couple of years ago and the consequent mass transit expansion that will be happening in future years. Similarly, as we already alluded to, NCDOT did not seriously consider an alternative that would rely on upgrading existing roads. But we did. We commissioned an expert transportation planner to take a look at how we could rely on upgrading existing roads and other innovative transportation improvements to address the transportation needs of southern Wake County. In the face of all of these unstudied, unproven benefits, there are myriad environmental impacts. Annie and others have spoken to this tonight. In particular, water quality would be severely impacted from increased roadway runoff. There would be devastated wetlands, clear-cut forests, air quality impacts that, again, remain unstudied by NCDOT. But we know that the road would be located right near schools, daycare centers, other community resources, areas with sensitive populations to changes in air quality. Because of the unproven benefits and the undemonstrated ability to supposedly meet the needs of this project, we are again urging NCDOT to take a timeout and reconsider this, to reevaluate the best way to spend $2.3 billion of taxpayer money. Just because this was put on the map in 1968 does not mean it's a good idea for the future of North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. That concludes those that signed up to speak. At this point, I'll open it up to anyone that would like to speak. Yeah. Again, remember, come up, state your name and address. Keep in mind, all comments carry the same weight.
My name is Dina Rutherford. I live at 2801 Gilchrist Lane, right off Rose Road in 1010. All I've seen is businesses in here telling us what they want. I want to know what we want. Nobody has asked us. They've just assumed that we're just going to go along with this. I have not seen one citizen come up that wasn't a business except for 4 people. What is wrong with that? There's people that live here.
Ma'am, they have the opportunity to come and speak.
How many, just all these cars, every single person up here was a business. Almost every single person. I don't get that. There's people that live in this neighborhood. They should have a say.
They do have a say, ma'am.
You only had 21 cars.
Ma'am, I can't make people speak, but again,
well,
people will send in comments. People can send in comments via email or via the comment form.
It's always been rigged.
But thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Next.
Hi, my name is Courtney Vargo. I live at 8231 Bells Lake Road. I'm just a little bit south of where the interchange is going to be on our road. Unlike many who have spoken tonight, I've only been in Wake County since 2010. I've only been around since 1992, so sorry for that. But I think that the noise considerations are something that are not really being taken into account. There's an issue with, firstly, they're saying that 10 decibels are the threshold. Decibels are not linear. When they go up, it's a logarithmic scale, which means for every 3 decibels, you are doubling how loud it sounds, which means by the time you get to 10 decibels of change, you have tripled what it sounds like standing out in your yard. So I think that the DOT needs to consider more closely and have a lower threshold for noise abatement for people. There have been a lot of really great comments from people about other plans and other ways to solve the transportation issues. Like I said, I live on Bells Lake. I work off of Wake Forest Road. So every single morning and every single evening, I have that 440 cluster. I was actually in an accident last month because someone wasn't paying attention on 440 and they ran into the back of me, totaled my car. So I know we have transportation problems. I think that some of the other proposals are really great, and I think that we should continue to look at upgrading existing infrastructure, but the issue is you can only do so much upgrading, and if we're only barely keeping up, we're not ever excelling. When I was in high school, they built a new high school for what they thought we needed then. By the time it was finished and we moved into it, we had already outgrown it. If we don't look at 540 as well as these other updates, and in addition to some of the mass transportation and public transportation upgrades that we need, I don't think that we're going to keep up with the incredible rate of growth that we have. I have friends in Morrisville and I have friends in Wendell. Takes me 40 minutes to get to either of those places. With 540, that won't be a thing anymore. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be a toll. I agree that Charlotte has been able to have 485 and they don't have a toll. I think that if we don't continue to look at not only 540 and the other options, we're gonna end up like Atlanta. Now raise your hand if you wanna be like Atlanta, because I don't think anybody wants to be like Atlanta, because if you did, you'd live there. So, thank you guys tonight for your comments.
Okay. Thank you. Next.
Jerry Morton. I live at 5423 Brushy Meadows Drive over here in Crooked Creek subdivision off Hilltop Needmore. I represent a group called North Carolina Citizens Against Toll Roads. We are against toll roads for 4 years. Here are some hard facts. The 26 miles of the toll road of 540 has lost more than $65 million so far. More than $153 million has been extorted by DOT on that toll road that should have got into local businesses. Apex, Cary, Holly Springs, and Fuquay Arena have lost more than $27 million in business revenue in your local community because of that toll road. The toll road does not pay for itself. You heard about 85% of the speakers tonight tell you how great the toll road is. It is a financial loser. It has never paid for itself. And if you look at the Turnpike Authority reports, you can read it for yourself. They have to transfer in more than $100 million a year to balance the book for the toll road. Another thing you need to know, Quick Pass office, where you pay your toll road bill, had 35 people in it a year and a half ago. Today they have 80, and there's no more toll roads. Why do we need 55 more people when there aren't any more toll roads? So we have a division within DOT that's not even making its way go. They cost them more money. So the toll road is a huge financial loser. Local businesses should all be against it. The mayors and the Chamber of Commerce should be ashamed of themselves for taking money out of the local businesses. And when they say they're in favor of the road, they're incorrect. The road goes east-west. Anybody who commutes to downtown Raleigh in the morning on Old Stage Road or Lake Wheeler or Holly Springs know it's backed up 11.4 miles every day, bumper to bumper, going to work and coming back home from work. And the 4-lane road, the alternative, is the correct answer. Ramona McGee, Southern Environmental Law Center, the alternative plan is the correct answer. And if you want to see a real mess, go watch I-77 in Charlotte. They have had wrecks every day. The people are against it. NCDOT now is even changing times for public meetings without telling the people. They did it last week, and they did it this week again, and they're dishonest with the public like they are with you. There is an alternative. It's Alternative 540, like Southern Environmental Law Firm. So just let me give you a couple things that never talked about. Budgets we pay for that never talked about are personal service, advertising, utilities, subscription fees, other services, capital outlay, rental expenses, depreciation, and stuff that you pay for with your highway trust fund money that should go to building roads and not for an office of Quick Pass. The Turnpike Authority gets $49 million a year, and in 16 years, with $800 million, they built 26 miles of road. They should all be fired. It's a disgrace and an insult to the taxpayers of the county.
Thank you, sir, for your comment. Next.
I'm Judy Spivey. I live at 8505 Federal Road, which is 4 houses on the right north of Wake Tech. It's terrible traffic, congestion at 1010 and 401. The main thing I want to know and I'm concerned about, I would like to know why I got a letter that I had to sign for saying someone would be out to talk to me within that week or the next week. And that was last year, middle summer. I haven't seen anybody yet. I would like to know if I'm sitting on this electric fence, if I can fall right or left where I'm going to go, if we're going to still have a home. Don't wait until the last minute to tell me I got to get out. I would like to know. I don't like this living in limbo.
Right.
The traffic is terrible. Something needs to be done. Whatever. I just want to know what's going to happen to me and why I had to sign for that letter, and I haven't seen anybody.
Was it a letter from the state?
It most certainly was, Department of Transportation.
Okay. Well, is Kathy still here? Okay.
I would like an answer.
Well, anyway, you gonna stay around for a few?
Yes.
All right. Well,
if I'll get an answer, I'll stay around.
we'll talk to you. We need to find out where that letter came from, and
okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Sir.
My name is Joseph Hayes. I live at 116 Traybridge Lane in Garner. I'm going to start by saying I know good roads from the lack of it. If anybody's ever tried to get up Route 50 at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know it takes you about an hour just to go about 4 miles. If we think we can use alternative roads to get around South Wake County, that ship has already sailed. Those days are over. It's not, we have already painted ourselves into a corner on this. We have no choice at this point. I think that's kind of a poor way to make decisions, but at this point, we have no choice. If we think we're going to be able to upgrade all of those roads in the next 2 or 3 years, that's not going to happen. We're going to be stuck with what we've got unless we go forward with the plan of 540. I also see this, all these Accelerate 540, and everybody's patting themselves on the back in terms of we're going to get this done. Why are we still talking about this? We haven't laid down a single square inch of pavement in 5 years. When 540 got finished to Apex, I thought, great, this will be coming soon. Sooner or later, we'll be able to catch this, the tail of this tiger and finally get around Wake County. But we don't. We're still talking about this. Let's stop talking about this and let's start putting pavement on the ground. That's all my comments.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
I'm Nancy Farrell Unwin, and I live at 4705 Linaria Lane in Fuquay, and I am opposed to the 540 project. I was excited recently to find out about the Plan Access 2040. It's a much better solution for many reasons. I don't know if that's been communicated a lot, but I hadn't really heard about it till recently, and I was very excited. It's better at relieving congestion. It's a fraction of the cost. And also, Access 2040 will be free to everyone in contrast to the tolls. And one thing that's always bugged me is, you know, okay, if I go toward Durham and use 540, I pay a toll. And the other way, if you're gonna do 540 and I'm gonna go toward Raleigh, I'm gonna pay a toll. The North pays no tolls. I've always thought that's fair. Somebody needs to explain to me how that's fair. You know, I don't think that is. And so I would like for you to please look at all the alternatives and please consider the Access 2040 for many reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Ralph Strickland. I live on 8109 Bells Lake Road for the last 40 years. I only have two comments. One, I'm really disappointed in DOT. I came to the meeting a couple years ago. I asked what the impact would be on my property. I've talked to every surveyor that's gone down my street. Tonight's the first time I saw that I'm going to lose my house. Nobody from DOT's called me. There's been no letters. There's been nothing on Bells Lake Road to show other than when it crosses Bells Lake Road, but not the impact to the side of the roads or how those loops are going to work. And I think it's a shame. I'm a retired city employee, and I can't believe the state of North Carolina couldn't take 5 minutes to come by my house and tell me personally they're going to do this until I get to tonight in my hand. And I've been to every meeting y'all have had. And the other thing I'll say about DOT, which I think is disappointing, is east and west, was in favor of the toll road. I'm not against it. As far as the road itself, I'm not thrilled about the toll because there's not a toll in North Raleigh. But I think the biggest thing is I went to Wake Tech in 1971. It's the same 401, the same 1010. Every road's the same except when you go to Kildare Farm Road or you get near the municipalities. DOT has done a horrible job in southeast Raleigh or southwest Wake County with 1010, 401. You go to Fuquay, you go anywhere around here. This will solve the problem of moving traffic from 40 around Raleigh South. It will not address anything on 401, 50, Old Stage, anything going into Raleigh, north and south. That's the only problem with this, and you will create the same bottleneck y'all created when you dumped I-40 on College in Wilmington. You're going to make the same mistake, and you're going to cause all these subdivisions to come in around here to hit that road, but there's not going to be any traffic north and south. You're not solving any of the problems around Fuquay. You're not solving any of the problems on 401. And you're not doing the service to the citizens of North Carolina. And you're really doing a horrible job on public information when I know these people on my road, none of them have been told that they're facing the move, which I can figure out right now. I got about a year left. And nobody comes by and tells me.
Sir.
It's a horrible thing for the state of North Carolina. Horrible. And I was in the city of Raleigh for 31 years dealing with police stuff, and we went on our way to communicate with people. This is the sorriest thing I've ever seen.
Sir, this is the part of the process. We have to follow the
I
process.
I know
we are presenting the design to you tonight so that you are aware.
My point of it is...
No, this is part of the process. When the previous public hearings...
Is it my minute or I'm using his minutes?
No, I give you some more seconds.
My point of it is I live at 8109 Bells Lake Road. I've talked to every surveyor that's come down my property. They've never one time told me how it's going to be widened on Bells Lake Road. I got it in my hand right now where it's at the front door of my house. Nobody's bothered to tell me nothing, absolutely zero. And that affected a lot of people on the road. My argument was why you couldn't go across the street where there's 3 vacant lots across the street from me, use them 3 vacant lots instead you're going to impact me. You could have took out 1 house across the street instead of 3, 5, 6 houses on our side. But I understand they went down the road. It's an engineering thing. I'm not against growth. I'm 100% in favor of growth. But DOT has done a horrible job. You know this is a done deal. I've been in the city government for 30-something years. I know it's a done deal. I know this is over with. I know all the politicians are in favor of it. I was in favor of it. I'm just upset that nobody come out and told the truth. That's my bottom line.
Sir, that's why what I'm trying to say is that's why we're here. We're presenting the preliminary designs. This is not the final design.
I know enough engineers to know that you're not going to move hardly anything here. You're going to tie it up in a red bow, and we're going to be done. And my argument is, I think it's a real shame that I've been to every meeting. I've been on your websites, and nobody has come to me till I get one piece of paper from over here that just says right away through my front and my house is gone. And I think that's a horrible, horrible way to do business.
Sir, this is the first time we're presenting the preliminary design.
You're getting ready to let the contracts go this year in the summer. You're getting ready to do it.
That's correct, but we're just presenting the design tonight, and that's where we're here to get your feedback on the design of the project.
I know it well enough to know that you're not going to move anything.
Sir, I'm not going to argue with you, but thank you. Thank you. We're not taking comments from, if you want to speak, sir, you have to come up to the mic. Again, this is a formal proceeding.
And there again, all I say is I'm not arguing with you.
Right.
I'm saying that I've been in the same house for 40 years. I've been to every one of your meetings, and nobody bothered to tell me you're going to take my house. And I think that's a horrible insult. I turned down talking to lawyers. I turned down to everything because I worked for the city of Raleigh for 31 years. I've always supported local government. I understand all this stuff about all the communities wanting the money and stuff, but I think this is a horrible way for DOT to do their business. That's just the way I feel about it.
Sir, if you stay around, I would like to talk to you afterwards. Sir, you just skipped that gentleman there. Can you please wait? Sir, will you stay around for a second? Okay.
Well, my name is John Hodge. I live in Garner, 1101 Golden Grain Road off of Benson. And I'd just like to comment on the assumption, I think, that the project would be awarded in a design-build format, and I think there should be some more explanation and justification. Sometimes with design-build, you put in all your eggs in one basket instead of going out to bid for a designer or an engineer at the best price, and also a separate construction manager at the best price working off of that approved design and making sure everybody's bonded. So I just don't think we should just consider that, make sure that is the best approach. The other thing is there was mention of the right-of-way acquisition after the design-build firm is selected, as if the right-of-way process would be managed by the design-build firm. I'm not sure if that's correct or if I misunderstood that. But if that's correct, I have a concern. I think that any of the right-of-way acquisition should be managed through the DOT, not by the firm that is awarded the construction contract. So
it is managed by DOT.
It is?
Yes.
Okay, so why was it mentioned about they would be?
They will have a team of right-of-way agents, but ultimately DOT has to review all of those offers and appraisals.
There needs to be some better clarity on it, because it doesn't sound right to me presented that way.
All right.
It really should be something. Once the scope of the work, the geographical area is determined by the engineers, what's necessary and what everybody approves, then I don't feel like the firm that is selected to manage the construction should be the one going out there and dealing with homeowners and businesses as far as acquiring land and stuff like that. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir.
Sorry to jump in.
That's fine. It's fine. That's what we're here for.
King. I live at 109 Batsman Place in Apex in the atrium at Wood Creek. Just for that gentleman's sake, you drew up these maps and these plans and everything weeks ago. That didn't happen last night. So you should, as soon as somebody realized that that property was impacted, somebody should have gone out and talked to that gentleman. I was 98% behind this project until I started hearing the voices of my fellow constituents here. I hear a lot of business people come up and say how great it's going to be for local businesses, Fortune 500 companies or whatever, but we're going to have to bear the impact. It's our burden is all on us. It's impacting our properties, our lives. Yes, we're going to get benefit from it, but we're paying every time we use it. It's going to put more strain on the other infrastructure because my wife doesn't want to pay tolls, so she takes all the 55 and everything, okay? I'm very, very lucky because my company pays for my toll tag, so I use it every time to get up to the airport. It's great. I really do love it. But the environmental impact and the burden on the local people is something that we shouldn't be bearing. It's something that the government, it's basically every time you pay a toll, you're paying a tax to the government. Okay, if they're going to raise your taxes to build it, or if they're going to take it every time you use a toll. It's both. It's still a tax. We pay taxes for our roads. We shouldn't be burdened by having to pay every time we use a road and infrastructure is built for the local constituents. North 540 is free. Some bureaucrat came in and wrote something on a letter saying, oh, now the rest of it's going to be a toll road. Okay? I know how politics works. That's my say. I'm sorry, I got very emotional. I was kind of on plan with it, but now I'm kind of pissed off, all right?
It's certainly okay, sir. Okay. All right, sir.
My name is Walter Simpkins. I live at 10172 Joe Leach Road. Have lived there for the last 75 years, within a few hundred yards of where I was born. It's on a family farm that we are about to lose to 540 totally. Between my sisters and myself, what the road is not taking is landlocking. I've really not been opposed to the road, but I have really been opposed to the time it's taken it to do it. I attended the first meeting right here at Wake Tech in December of 1990. That was 21 years ago or somewhere thereabout. And I have just, at the life of me, it comes right through my house. My house sits in the medium that I've been in since 1970s, somewhere along there. And I'm not opposed to it. I think we need it. These mussels and environmentalists, I've been a fisherman and hunter all my life, and I really respect that. But I want to know which is the most important in life, my life or that mussel's life. Right. That mussel can be relocated and do the same job it's doing of where it's at. There's no problem there, but it is a big problem with DOT dragging its feet as long as it has, and I still don't know how long I'm going to have to live where I'm at. If I knew, it would make a tremendous difference. We have a hearing with Judge Collins Monday at the Wake County Courthouse on floor 10. Anybody that can be there, be there. If you're affected by this, they're supposed to give us a schedule. We'll see. I have never had anybody give me a date yet. They have done some presumptions. They are waiting for what I've seen. Said this every time I've ever spoke. And my oldest sister did pass away this past December, and she told me when we came to that first meeting, she said, we'll never live long enough to see this done. And I think she's right. They're waiting for the rest of us to die. And then they go on to the next generation. But that's just what that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay.
My name's Dennis Hilton. I am a property owner on Oxford Green Drive, 5916. Like the gentleman who just preceded me, my first hearing for this was 1996. And at that point in time, their preliminary corridor that they reserved barely missed my property line, so we kind of figured we'll wait this thing out and see what happens. A couple years ago, they changed it. The property lines then engulfed about 80% of our property. So what are we going to do? I find it real interesting that our municipal guys have plenty of time to plan their stuff. We're in real estate purgatory because we have no idea what's going to happen to our property or when. Now, the most recent map that came out showed that line creeping back to about half of my property. What am I going to do if they take half my property and don't take my house? We got some serious negotiations to do. My point is, again, we are in real estate purgatory. What are we going to do if we live there? We don't know when we're going to get bought out or if they're going to give us an equitable solution, settlement for our property. It's very difficult for us and for you guys that were in that corridor that was reserved 25 years ago. What have you been doing? You were told you couldn't develop your property? Yeah. Well, you know, what is fair about that? And now, if they take half, all my property, whatever, and what do we get? We get a road that we have to pay to drive on. It just doesn't seem very fair to me that they're putting us through all this. I heard the word accelerate used, I don't know how many times tonight, guys. 1996? 2 years ago, you said you're going to do this thing now. You're supposed to be under construction now. Then we get another notification that it's been spread out once again. Are you really going to do it in the time frame you're talking about? And one other thing that I'd like to know, I've seen nothing as far as estimated time of construction. How long are our lives going to be disrupted by the construction of this road? 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
I would estimate a 3 to 4 year construction period. Is that correct, Joy? About 3 to 4 year construction period. All right. Anyone else? Thank everyone that will be joining or watching the future broadcast of this hearing. Please, I just want to emphasize the importance of getting comments into us for all the methods that we provided earlier that I went through. Please encourage your neighbors to, if they weren't able to get here tonight and watch the broadcast, go to our website or to the City of Raleigh's website to get the air times.